Hello and welcome to another episode here of Just Jets. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, gonna hang out with you for episode 277. It is Minicamp week. Today is day 2 of Minicamp by the time you are listening to this. We recapped day 1 yesterday. We'll have a video coming out on the YouTube channel later on this afternoon or early evening on what went down on day number 2, but figured I would take a quote from yesterday that Aaron Glenn had and react to that here in our intro segment for Just Jets, because we've spent a lot of time talking about Justin Fields, and understandably so. One, the quarterback position is the most important position in football. The Jets have a new one. The Jets quarterback, let's be honest, folks, is always a talking point, whether it's Rodgers or Wilson or Darnold or whoever. Jets fans and the NFL always talks about the New York Jets and their quarterbacks, and something that maybe we should spend more time on, and I think I've talked about this a lot, but again, Aaron Glenn said it yesterday, was the running backs. I fully expect the Jets to be an extremely run-heavy team in 2025. Aaron Glenn seems absolutely thrilled with his running back room. He didn't just mention Breece Hall. He didn't mention Justin Fields as a rusher. In fact, he mentioned 3 running backs that the New York Jets have: Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis, and Braylon Allen. So let's play the clip for everyone here on Aaron Glenn on his running back room.
The first thing, they're big physical men. And listen, even though this is not a physical camp, you just see the way they run. All of them have low pad level. Breece and Braylon, man, they can really, really run. I'm not just talking about just as a runner, but as far as speed down the field, you see that with them. And I'm excited about all 3 of those guys. I really am. I don't know if there's 3 backs in this league that has the potential like these 3. I mean, maybe it is, but I know I'm just focusing on what we have, and I'm excited about the guys that we have here.
Love the quote. Absolutely love the quote from Aaron Glenn there. And look, I'm going to be honest here. I think Breece Hall will be the leader in that group. He should be, not in the bell cow sense that of the Jets' X amount of carries, he's going to have 75% of the carries. Like, that's just unrealistic. But what I really like about this is they plan to use all of their guys, which means that should keep Breece Hall fresh and be a better version of him. And they're stylistically very different. I know he talked about physicality, but when I think physicality, I think Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. They're 2 bigger backs, and I think Isaiah Davis honestly showed more last year. I came away more impressed with Isaiah Davis, and maybe it was just I didn't have very many expectations for him, and he popped in the little use that he had. Or if it was just the kind of the hype train behind Braylon Allen, and this isn't me saying that I think Braylon Allen stinks. I don't believe that to be the case, but I just came away with last year more surprised by what we really, I guess, saw from Isaiah Davis. And, you know, with both Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis going into year 2, the expectation is they're going to take a really nice big step forward. And as discussed at length, the offensive line should be significantly better than where it was a year ago. Olu Fashanu coming in, being a full-time starter at left tackle, upgrade at potentially at right tackle. You spend the 7th overall pick on Armand Membu. You hope he's good out of the gate. And then you're returning Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, and John Simpson on the interior. And all those guys have good athleticism and project to be very good run blockers in this specific style of scheme. I would expect, again, a really big turnaround, because if you look at it where the Jets were last year as a team, 363 carries, the fewest in the NFL, and 1,561 rushing yards, 31st in the NFL. That is not going to get it done in 2025. And I don't think that's the recipe for success. Dropping Justin Fields back 40 times a game is not the recipe for success for this team. I think, you know, you look at Baltimore, for example. They led the league in rushing yards at 3,189 rushing yards. The Jets would practically have to double their rushing yard totals from a year ago to get up to number 1. I don't know if they do that, but I do think that they have the potential to be top 5 in both rushing attempts and rushing yards based on all the factors that we just laid out there. Breece Hall being Breece, getting back to that, the version we all know and love. Braylon and Isaiah taking that nice step forward and them being utilized. And then Justin Fields and his ability as a rusher. This regime, Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, they've talked a lot about kind of getting more, or letting, that's the better way of putting it, letting Justin Fields play the quarterback position and be a thrower. But he's got to also be a passer, right? I'm thinking, for me, and I'm talking absolute bare minimum, be running the ball 30 times a game on average over the course of a 17-game season. I'm sure there's weeks where it's going to be higher than that. There's weeks where it's going to be lower than that. But 30 to 32 on average over the 17-game season is probably where you want to be. And you're likely looking at my own personal opinion. You let me know if you feel differently. Breece Hall around 13 carries, Fields 8, Allen 6, Davis 3. Maybe Allen and Davis are a little bit closer. Maybe Breece's number's down a little bit and Fields is up. Maybe Fields is way down. He's at like 5. And Braylon Allen's, at close to 10 carries. And it's a full, big split. But if you look at and I know I keep going back to it, but it's hard not to. You look at what happened in Detroit with their running back duo. Now, they didn't really have a third like Isaiah Davis. But the duo that was there in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, they used both those guys. In year 1, it was more Montgomery, less Gibbs. Year 2 was more Gibbs, less Montgomery, but still really effective. And I think if the Jets are going to have success on offense, it's going to be because of the running game. And I know it's so easy to go, running game, they add Justin Fields, one of the better rushing quarterbacks in the NFL. That's the reason. I think it's the reasons the running back room's actually good. And the offensive line is going to play better this year than what it did a year ago. And as a result, the Jets will be a better rushing team, which I'm excited about. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited about it. All right, let's get into your voicemails. We got a lot of voicemails to get into today. It might be a long episode, but that's fine with me. Hope it's fine with you. We get started with Eric in Brooklyn, who wants to talk the wide receiver room.
Matt O'Leary, what's going on? Eric calling from Brooklyn, New York. Appreciate you taking my call. I have a question for you about our wide receiver room. Now, I know we have, a couple of young guys that haven't fully reached their full potential yet or haven't got an opportunity to get on the field, show what they really got. But I look at our wide receiver room and I don't really see it being scary this year, if I'm being 100% honest. Garrett Wilson, he's our clear-cut number 1 wide receiver. There's no question about that. And, we added a piece in Mason Taylor, who I think is going to be really good. But just keeping it at receiver, down the list, we go Allen Lazard, Malachi Corley, who I think should be on the field more this year, Xavier Gibson, Adrian Smith from Georgia that we drafted, the rookie. I know he's been having some problems with drops in college. I believe he had 10 drops in college or probably more his last year at Georgia. I could be wrong, but I need to fact check myself on that. But yeah. And there's other guys I think I'm forgetting or didn't mention, but I don't know. My question is, do you think we should add another piece? Let's say Amari Cooper. I know we've been linked in trade rumors with the Falcons for Kyle Pitts. I don't necessarily think it would make sense to get Kyle Pitts here, but do you think we should add another wide receiver just to take the pressure off Garrett Wilson and just have another receiving threat? That's my question for you for the week. And as always, go Jets.
I appreciate this one, Eric. Thanks so much for calling in. I don't disagree with you that the wide receiver room is not a strength of this team. It isn't. It just isn't. As I like, I guess it's fitting. The opening segment, I spent a lot of time talking about the rushing game. I think that's going to be super important. I think Brees and Mason Taylor as pass catchers are going to have to rank higher than whoever the wide receiver 2 is in targets and reception. Someone you didn't mention, at least initially, Josh Reynolds, who the Jets signed this offseason. I think he's going to end up being wide receiver 2. I know he didn't have a great year last year, injuries and bounce between the Broncos and the Jaguars. I think because of what he was able to do in Detroit in this style of offense, I think he has the nod. Corley and Gibson are in a fight for roster spots. And I know that's in a way kind of crazy, right? Because I just said the Jets wide receiver room isn't very good. And we're talking about, or I just mentioned the potential of a 3rd round pick from a year ago being in a tough spot to make the roster. But we're now into minicamp and he's not on the field. Malachi Corley, that is. And he's injured, and I'm not blaming him for injuries, and that really sucks, but this regime isn't the one that drafted him. It wasn't Aaron Glenn texting Darren Muji on draft night saying Malachi Corley no matter what. And we don't know how they feel about him. We heard that they have a plan in place for him, but are they going to be able to execute that plan? I don't know. We'll have to see in training camp, and maybe that's my answer, is we got to see how this shakes out in training camp. I would be surprised if they added someone externally, whether it's an Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen, someone like that. I just would be surprised by that. But we got to have some clarity, I think, at least in training camp. Let's go to PG up next, calling in from Long Island. He wants to talk his week 1 excitement.
Hello, Matt O'Leary. PG from Long Island here. Thank you for taking my call. I am very excited about our week 1 matchup with the Steelers. Obviously, it's going to be a tough matchup. And part of the reason I say that is historically, teams with a first-year head coach and a first-year quarterback do not perform very well in week 1. I heard this from the WalterFootball.com. Walter Trubinsky was on Play Like a Jet. And, in fact, last year, he always faced them. Last year, the teams were, in that situation, were 1-3. But, and you tack on that the fact that the opposing coach is Mike Tomlin, who has never had a losing season, and the Jets haven't had a winning season in almost, somewhere around 10 years. So it's a tough matchup. But it just got easier. With Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, and as you pointed out last week in one of your YouTubes, the Jets, Aaron Rodgers performs very poorly when you blitz him and when you play man-to-man. So the Jets should blitz the ever-loving crap out of him.
Correct.
Play tight man-to-man coverage. The Jets will be excited about it. Anybody who's played football, you know that blitzing is fun. And it takes a little pressure off the week 1 schematics and all that. And I think if they do that, they'll have a very good success. The defense will have a very good success week 1 against the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. Flip side of that, though, is offense. So everyone anticipates the Jets being a running offense, and I think that makes sense. But maybe not in week 1. The Steelers have a very good run defense. And any weakness they have is in the passing game, and most notably covering tight ends, at least last year. So maybe we come out there and change the script a little bit from what people expect. I think it'll be a good test here for the young Jets team and the young Jets coaching staff. And I'm really excited to see how that plays out in week 1. Anyway, Matt O'Leary, interested to get your thoughts on that. And as always, go Jets.
Yeah, I'm excited for week 1, and I'll be in the building week 1. I'm going to use this. Don't worry, PG. I'll answer your question. We're going to use this because it sparked a plug for me. So the Talking Jets crew will be there. If anyone listening wants to attend the game with us and be a part of our group buy, This will be year 4 of that, I believe, for us. Anyway, week 1, talkingjets.com. Come hang out with us. Tickets are available. We will be tailgating with Tailgate Joe, as we normally do. He is the absolute best. It's a great tailgate experience. Even if the Jets don't play well on the field, we always have a blast at the tailgate. We get to, hang out with fans, talk Jets football. It's a great time. It really is. And the day before, we are at Bezara Festival. So we've partnered up with Bezara Festival. We are doing a live podcast from that fest. So tickets are on sale for that as well. Better Than Ezra is the headliner that night. So if you're into 90s music, I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's very nostalgic for me. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm pumped up to watch Better Than Ezra headline, and then also talk some shop and do a season preview live stream with the Talking Jets crew over there. So if you want to get in on that, talkingjets.com. But yeah, I like PG. I'm very excited for week 1. It's a good game, and Pittsburgh's tough, of course. They always seem to find a way to have a winning record at the end of the day. Now, do they do anything in the playoffs? That's another story. But it's a revenge game not only for Aaron Rodgers but for Justin Fields too. The Steelers wanted Justin Fields back, and he said, "I'm good. I'm going to hit free agency instead," and ends up signing with the Jets because he was replaced as the starter by Russell Wilson. Now, Russell was injured and Justin Fields was looked at as the backup. And once Russell was healthy, he went back in, but they were 4-2 and they pulled the plug on the guy. So it's going to be a fun game. I think also the comments that Aaron Rodgers had on McAfee about Aaron Glenn adds a little bit more juice to it. And I'm excited to be in the building. I, like PG, would blitz the ever-loving crap out of Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers in that game. I think that's the path to success. Max from New Jersey's up next with some 53-man roster predictions. Ooh, all right, let's do it.
Hi, this is Max calling up from home to New Jersey on a wonderful Monday morning. Let's talk about my 53-man roster prediction. So, first off is the offense. So, for quarterback, Justin Fields is going to be quarterback 1. Howard Taylor is going to be quarterback 2. And then for quarterback 3, it's going to be Brady Cook. And then for running back, our starting 3 will be Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis. And for practice squad, Donovan Edwards is going to be on the practice squad. Wide receiver, we're going to have our starting 4. So Garrell's going to be wide receiver 1. And then for wide receiver 2 is going to be Josh Reynolds. Alan Lazard will be wide receiver 3. And then Aaron Smith is going to be our wide receiver 4. Offensive lineman, our starting left tackle is Olu Fashanu. Left guard is going to be John Simpson. Center is Joe Tittman. Right guard is Elijah Vera Tucker. And then right tackle is Armel Membu. Max Mitchell's going to be on the practice squad. And we're going to cut Carter Ward, Obeni, Zed, and Shukuma Okafor. And then for tight end, we're going to have our starting 3 tight ends. So Mason Taylor is going to be our starting tight end. Stone Smart is going to be our second tight end. And then Jeremy Rucker is going to be tight end 3. I think Dak Funtz is going to be on the practice squad. And then for defensive line, our starting 5 is going to be Quinnen Williams, Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, Leonard Taylor. I think he'll be a good sleeper defensive line. And then Derek Nandi. And I think Michael Clemens is the cut candidate because, he's bad with penalties. For our linebacker position, our starting 5 will be Damian Sherwood, Quincy Williams, Zaire Barnes, Jamin Davis, and Chaz Surratt. And then our cut candidates are Marcelian McCurry-Ball, Jackson Sermon, and Jimmy Tarallo. And our practice squad, I think Tyler Barron's going to be under our practice squad. For corner, our starting 2 corners will be Sauce Gardner and Azaria Thomas. And then Jerick Butler-Converse will be on the practice squad. And Malcolm Moore will be converted to safety. And then for safety, our starting 2 safeties will be Tony Adams and Andre Sisco. And then Malcolm Moore will be coming on rotation. For special teams, our kicker is going to be Anders Carlson. And then for our punter position, for 2025, I think Kai Kroger will be our practice squad. And then Austin McNamara will be our backup. And then for punt return, it's going to be Malcolm Moore. And our kick return is going to be Quinn Nagwazi. What's your thoughts on my 53-man roster predictions? And go Jets.
Malachi Moore as a punt returner. That's not one that I've heard before. I wouldn't be surprised if Arian Smith gets reps at punt returner. I didn't hear you mention Brandon Stevens. I would be absolutely floored if he doesn't start out of the gate. I think Izzy Thomas eventually starts for this team, but I don't think he's going to be starting in week 1. And with the money that Brandon Stevens got, I think he's going to be, cornerback 2, so to speak. On some other names that you're mentioned, I think Byron Cowart at interior defensive line. I think he might be the front runner to start next to Quinnen Williams. Leonard Taylor, I think, will be a part of the rotation, though. Chaz Surratt, I don't believe is on the roster. I think he followed Robert Saleh to San Francisco, if memory serves correct. Those are just a few that pop out to me. I don't think there were many egregious things, like Michael Clemens, obviously a cut candidate. I don't think they carry 3 quarterbacks. I think Cook is on the practice squad. I think Chuck Okorafor is the main backup on the at the tackle spot. Josh Myers, main backup on the interior offensive line. Those are pretty much my main takeaways from that one. Let's do Scott up next. He's calling in from Montana. He has a question on if the Jets should add someone in free agency.
Hi, Matt. This is Scott, longtime listener, first-time caller from Big Sky Country, Montana. We had to chuckle about your comment. If the Jets did not make the playoffs within 20 years, you're coming out to Montana.
I am.
Want to let you know you're always welcome, but of course we both know that's not going to happen because the Jets will be in the playoffs next season, not this season. They're laying the foundation.
I agree
this season, and next season will be the year they get into the playoffs. I love the Aaron Glenn hire. Every time he speaks, I get more excited about him. Loved him as a player. My question for you is, would the Jets have any interest in Jair Alexander being cut from the Packers? I know our corner 2 is a big hole. Florida State kid has a lot of potential. Brandon Stevens signing, a little questionable maybe. Would the Jets, if they could get Alexander on a cheap deal, would they have any interest in him possibly? He's got some injury history. Maybe he could come over on a cheap deal. Anyway, appreciate the content. Love what you do. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much for the call, Scott. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Jets, 2026 is my guess for when they end this playoff drought. I hope it's this year, but my guess is 2026. I do, even if it's not moving to Montana and starting to raise Highland cows, I want to go out to Montana and Wyoming. I just have been absolutely obsessed with the scenery and the views. It's a spot that I really, really want to visit. So hopefully I make my way out there one of these days. I don't think the Jets will be interested in Jair Alexander. You mentioned the injury history, and he's been hurt a lot. 3 of the last 4 years, he's missed significant time. I mentioned it for Max's call too. They paid Brandon Stevens some decent money, and while I don't disagree that it's a question mark at outside corner, I don't think the Jets are going to pull the plug on that, so to speak, so quickly and go, you know what, we'll just throw a 1-year deal at Jair Alexander. I think there are other teams that maybe have more of a open area for him to come in and play right away, a path for him to playing. I mean, the Jets, they drafted AZ Thomas this year. I think he's their contingency plan and long-term plan at outside corner. So that would just be a surprise to me. I don't think that's a route that they would go. Let's go to Travis calling in from Ohio. He wants to talk about the guards. All right, let's do it.
Hey, Matt. Travis from Ohio. Hey, buddy. What are your thoughts on the guard situation? I know we're all fans of AVT and his versatility, not fans of his injury history, and fans of a cheap John Simpson contract that and I love his nasty. And, he's one of my favorite Jets right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, both our contracts are up next year, and we can franchise one and on the cheap, and would probably be lower than EVT's $13 million contract this year. Anyway, got our tackles hopefully set with, Alu and
Membu.
Armand, Yeah. But, what are we going to do at guards next year? I mean, Tippmann, we still got him on a rookie deal. So, and he could move over there if, the dude from Green Bay works out at center with their quote-unquote competition. So what are we going to do at guard is my question I pose to you. Like, I like them both, but flaws in both their games and how much you want to pay, So, love you, buddy. Go Jets. Bye.
Thank you so much for the call, Travis. Always love hearing from you. Guard spot, I'm going to take a cop-out answer, though, so I'm apologizing in advance. I think you let the year play out, and you see from there who you're able to retain. If both play well, obviously you're hoping to keep both, right? But even if you could keep one of the two, and maybe you either go and dip into free agency again, or you try to take a swing in the second or third round for your next guard who's going to plug in, and you keep 4 of the 5 guys because Tippmann's going into year 3. He has 2 more years left. Olu and Membu, they're still be on their rookie contracts. I think in all likelihood, you're probably going to have to pick one of the two. In a perfect world, both play well and you're able to keep both. But AVT is got to stay healthy again. And that's why I don't think he got that contract extension. Maybe he gets one this summer. I'd be very surprised by that for full transparency. But how I would take the approach is let it play out. Let this year play out and go from there at this point. Let's go to Izzy up next.
Hi, Matt. It's Izzy from Staten Island. I just wanted to know, is there a number that you're willing to not go over for Sauce and Garrett? I want you to talk around it, like, how much are you willing to pay? How much do you think it's too much? How many years? Thank you so much. Love the show.
Thank you, man. So I'm thinking around $30 million for each is where it's going to be. And I wouldn't really go too much higher than that. I think 35, I guess if we have to draw the line in the sand, I guess it's 35. I'm not going to squabble and be like, oh, I want to offer 30 million over 30 over 4 roughly is where I'm at. And not a penny more. If it's 32, it's 32, right? But if it's getting over $35 million, we are really resetting the market there for the New York Jets. And I don't think it's going to get to that point. I would expect a 4 for 120 for Garrett and Sauce around the same. Especially after Derek Stingley got 3 for 90, essentially $30 million a year. I think Sauce gets over 100 million, and I think it's over 4 years. So my guess is the numbers are going to be closer to 30 million for both those guys, though. Peter from Hudson Valley, he's got some more roster predictions.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter calling from up in the beautiful Hudson Valley on this Monday evening. Calling in with part 2 of my roster predictions going forward. So now it's time to take a look at the defense. And with the defensive line, I think obviously we'll keep certainly Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson as your main edge guys. I think Eric Watts and Tyler Barron will back them up. I do have a couple guys making the practice squad, but I don't have anyone else right now.
Okay.
On that, meaning Michael Clemens, bye-bye. And in the middle, Quinton Williams and Noddy, along with Cowart, Leonard Taylor, and I think Federian Mathis will make it because he's the big fatty there. Obviously, at linebacker, I think we're going to go with Quincy, Sherwood, Barnes, and Davis. And then behind them, the rookie Mainoa. In the secondary, of course, I have Gardner and Stevens and Michael Carter as your main corners, Stiggers and Thomas as your backups to that. And I think Jarek Bernard-Converse will be there as well. In the safety room, I've got Cisco, Adams, and Moore, and also kind of Isaiah Oliver, even though he's more of a backup, say, to Michael Carter. Other guys will probably be on the practice squad, but that's my look at the defense. So let me know your thoughts on that. I did want to comment based on my predictions for the offense last week and also based on, I think, a video you just did earlier today.
Sure.
My main thought with the offensive line was the same thing you thought. If one of the guards goes down, like AVT or Simpson, that I think they will bring in Myers and slide Tippmann over to one of those guard positions. I do have some other guys, obviously, I think will be on the practice squad that'll help fill in as well and be called up, to the active roster as the needs occur. And I just wanted to mention today happens to be my birthday.
Oh.
I am Zaire Barnes number years old, so if you know, you know. And as always, go Jets.
Peter, happy birthday, my man. Thank you for being such a big supporter of mine, always, watching and commenting on my videos and on social media and calling into the show. Really means a lot. So I wanted to thank you, Peter, for always supporting and wish you a very happy birthday. Happy Zaire Barnes year to you. I really like your defensive predictions. I don't really think I'm all that different, like just listening to all those that you listed. Isaiah Oliver, I agree. I think he's sticking around. Especially because of specials. And I was curious to see, I know you're going to do a call specifically on the special teams guys. I think he plays a big role in specials. And yeah, like I don't really have any people that you left off who I think are, they're absolutely making it. Maybe Watts is one who might be tough to make it, but I wouldn't be shocked if he did. I would obviously rather, Watts over Michael Clemens, like you mentioned. I know Braden McGregor made the team last year, but I didn't think he showed as much as what Watts did. So yeah, Watts I think has a better shot. Let's go. Jake from Jersey next wants to talk rookie contracts.
Hey, what's up, Matt? Jake from Jersey. Actually, just a quick question for you. I don't know where to find this information sometimes, but I was just thinking, say Arian Smith continues, looking good throughout the offseason. Even if you go as far as saying has a pretty good season, let's say even, something crazy like wide receiver 2. Just out of curiosity, with where he was drafted, how long is his rookie contract? And since I think it was, 4th round, what, is there any, sort of extension with that contract, or is it just like a 2-year or something? I'm not really familiar, to be honest, what a 4th round guy would get. I feel like you don't pay attention to it too much, but just curious in this situation. That's all I got today, man. Go Jets.
Yeah. So really good question, and one that not everyone knows, which is totally fine. So I'm happy to answer. The rookie contracts are 4 years. And with the first round picks, only first round picks have 5th year options. So those have to be picked up after year 3, which is why you saw Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson all have their 5th year option picked up. Some people are like, well, why didn't Brees have his? It's not available. He was a 2nd round pick. So 4-year contract, and they are eligible any, 1st round, 2nd, all the way to 7th, eligible for an extension after year 3. So Arian Smith is on his rookie deal. It's a 4-year deal. He's making, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it's a little over $1 million each of those years. And the Jets would have the opportunity to extend him if they like after year 3. I hope he's good enough so where he comes in and is producing like a wide receiver 2 and they want to extend him after year 3. That would be a really good thing to happen for the New York Jets. We close with our good friend, Vinny from Peekskill.
Hey, Matt. It's from Peekskill calling. Just thought I'd want to comment on the Aaron Rodgers thing going to the Steelers because I see so many in the fan base somehow thinking that now the Steelers are going to humiliate the Jets and then Aaron Rodgers is going to do the same by taking the Steelers somehow on a deep playoff run, and I just wanted to calm everybody down. Take a deep breath, relax. That's not going to happen. It's the Steelers. This is a team that hasn't won a playoff game since 2017. I mean, yeah. And look, let's just break it down. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith are oil and water when it comes to their offensive schemes. So the question is, who's going to bend in that situation? Secondly, it takes Aaron Rodgers an absurdly long time to get on page with his wide receivers.
That's
and
true.
when he doesn't get on page, he doesn't trust the wide receiver enough to throw him the ball. I mean, like we saw it with him 2 years in, he was still struggling with his connection to Garrett Wilson. And yeah, I know he missed a season because of the injury, but that's still 2 off seasons of working with him. They couldn't get on the same page. And it's just not a people think it is. So, you know, I want everyone to calm down and think rationally and stop with the Jets mentality.
Yeah. Thank you, Vinny. I think that's a really good point. People are going to go, oh, no. Oh, man, Aaron Rodgers, he's going to go for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, and the Jets are going to get blown out in week 1. And I guess there's a world where that happens, but I don't think that's reality here. We saw Rodgers last year, and he, unfortunately, for most of the year, he wasn't good enough. There were moments, but consistently over a 17-game season at 40, going to soon to be 42 years old, is he going to be able to do that? I don't think so. I don't have the Steelers as a playoff team. I know it is sacrilegious because they finish, 500 or better every year. I don't think they do it this year. I think this is finally the end of the line of that stat. And I think the Jets could match up well against Pittsburgh if they play their defensive scheme accordingly. Blitz the crap out of Aaron Rodgers. Play man coverage. Force him to make a mistake. Because I did it in a video, after he officially signed. Look at the 2 games last year where he arguably struggled the most against Minnesota and Denver in back-to-back weeks. Those are the 2 most blitz-heavy teams in the NFL. He had 3 picks against Minnesota, and they didn't get in the end zone against the Broncos. I think that's your recipe to success. And you're probably winning a low-scoring 16-13 like game. Is it going to be pretty? No. But I don't care about pretty. I want to see wins. I don't care if they win every game 3-0. If they go 17-0 and score whatever 17 times 3 is the amount of points on the year, I don't care. I just want to see this team win games. And I appreciate that optimism from our guy Vinny to close us out. So thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.